Hey, how's it going everyone? I hope you're all doing well as usual. So as promised, I'm back today with another collection update, and also as promised, it's all going to be black metal. So I have 3 releases to talk about by 2 different bands. So without further ado, we'll just get straight into it. So the first band I'm going to talk about is actually one I discovered through this YouTube community. So you'll remember that Mark from Wandering Souls webzine, a couple of years ago, he had a competition for his 1,000 subscribers celebration, and in that he invited us to ask him some questions, and one of my questions was, Mark, what are some of your favorite Dutch bands, like metal or otherwise? So he mentioned a few, but one of them he actually mentioned was CIRITH GORGOR, which I had always heard the name, but just never the music. And essentially he said it's very fast, atmospheric black metal, quite similar to MARDUK in some ways, like with him knowing that I'm a massive fan of MARDUK. So I thought, oh, that sounds appealing, I'll check it out. And at the time I did check out one album, but then, things got in the way, so I just neglected that for a long time. But actually, recently I gave a couple of their albums a listen and discovered that I absolutely love their music. Because, yeah, like Mark said, it's very inspired by MARDUK and certain other bands. So, yeah, that's right up my alley, obviously. So, the 2 albums I'm going to talk about today are the band's first 2 albums, and I will say this, so the band CIRITH GORGOR, I always confused them with a couple of other bands with similar names, like not CIRITH UNGOL, which is the American heavy metal band, or Karak Ungren, which is also a Dutch band that's sort of like vampiric symphonic black metal. I think I confused them with CIRITH GORGOR because they have 2 names, each with 2 syllables and starting with C, so Karak Ungren, CIRITH GORGOR. But anyway, yeah, the band I'm talking about today is CIRITH GORGOR. So this is the debut album by CIRITH GORGOR. This is, I always forget the name, Onwards to the Spectral Defile, which was released in 1995, I believe. So there's the band's logo, cool, CIRITH GORGOR. And yeah, Mark was absolutely right. This band became a classic. Instant classic for me. I just love the music. So with this album and band, well, I mean, I think I can't comment on later albums, but basically what you have on this particular album, which is Onwards to the Spectral Defile, is fast, frantic, chaotic, and bombarding black metal riffs, backed by thunderous drumming and blast beats, laced with those kind of piercing, memorable melodies, which are topped off with relentless shrieking vocals. So in other words, very similar to MARDUK's sound. And in addition to that, musically, it seems that this band is heavily inspired by MARDUK's earliest black metal albums in particular. So I'm talking about Those of the Unlight and Opus Nocturne, which is fantastic for me because, as some of you know, Those of the Unlight is my favorite MARDUK album of all time and favorite metal album of all time. So no surprise that I just love this. So yeah, very much in the vein of MARDUK's Those of the Unlight and Opus Nocturne. And they also definitely have an enthroned tinge to their sound. So, the Belgian black metal band Enthroned, which is also one of my favorite black metal bands. So they sound a lot like Enthroned, especially in terms of, the guitar melodies and solos, as well as the incorporation of an epic 80s heavy metal influence. So the Enthroned albums they seem to be inspired by are Prophecies of Pagan Fire and Towards the Skull Throne of Satan. So also, Enthroned's first 2 full-length albums. So what more could I ask for? Someone like me, like MARDUK and Enthroned are 2 of my favorite black metal bands, and this band sounds a lot like those 2 bands, like a combination and then some, actually. So I'm sorry, I'm just reading my notes here. So like both of these bands, it also features some mid-pace sections, so this band doesn't blast 1,000 miles an hour all the time, and there are also some groovy breakdowns and chugging guitars, just like in MARDUK. You have those fast blasting songs and then those like kind of groovy mid-pace sections where you tap your head along. This band has those as well, and a lot of kind of like chugging segments as well. So the range of tempos with this band is always exciting, ranging from fast and blasting to slow and heavy to mid-paced and catchy to chugging and groovy. In addition, there are some intricate guitar solos, clean guitars and acoustic guitars for additional atmosphere, and the guitar solos are fantastic. Melodic, memorable, and brilliantly played, very much like the Enthroned guitar solos as well. So, what makes them stand out though as unique is just the extremely catchy, memorable, and compelling songwriting and arrangements. Like these songs, they really stick in your head, and there's a lot of variety with each song. not just in terms of the tempo, but in terms of the riffs, and they shift from one element to another, which is really cool. And the musicianship is top notch and executed precisely. What I really like about this album as well is that the production is similar to Marduk's Opus Nocturne. So in other words, very heavy and metallic sounding, not too clean, and backed by clattery, echoing drums. So yeah, so like on Marduk's Opus Nocturne, the tom-tom drums sound like bongos, but that gives it its unique raw character. The production is also similar to Marduk's Those of the Unlight, so it's following those Marduk albums both in terms of music and production, and I really like it. Like the tom-toms on track 4, which are fuck, why do I do this? I don't get my magnifying glass. Sorry, I should know by now with my terrible eyesight, but yeah. Yeah, Sons of the New Dawn, that's track 4. The tom-tom drums in that, they sound exactly like the tom-tom drums in Marduk's Demi Quaden Tirani. And I was like, oh, that's absolutely brilliant. That must be a tribute to Marduk's Opus Nocturne. But yeah, absolutely brilliant album. Just give you a quick rundown of the tracks. God, I've taken so many notes here, but I try not to go into too much detail. Sometimes I can't help it. But yep, so the first track is entitled The Declaration of Our Never-Ending War. And the main riff in that very much reminds me of Enthrone's The Antichrist Summons the Black Flame from Towards the Skull Throne of Satan. So immediately you hear an Enthroned influence, which is cool. Then you've got track 2, which is Winter Embraces Lands Beyond. The introduction commences with a very epic and melancholic sounding 80s metal riff section, followed by a mid-paced guitar solo. Some of the fast melodic riffs sound highly influenced by even melodic Swedish death metal. For example, I'm talking about bands like Ablaze My Sorrow. And overall, the song sounds like a cross between Enthroned and the melancholic side of Dark Funeral, particularly on albums like Where Shadows Forever Reign. So tracks 3 and 4 on this album are also great. They're fast blasting and chaotic, but always memorable and featuring several tempos, which is common with this band. Now talking about some of my favorite tracks, probably my favorite track on the album is like a double one called A Hymn to the Children of Heimdall / Darkness Returns. So A Hymn to the Children of Heimdall, that's an introduction, which consists of atmospheric and melodic clean guitars, similar to those used by Australian black metal bands such as Astrial and CIRITH. And then Darkness Returns, like the main segment of the song. That's like a classic Those of the Unlight song. So like, I honestly think that song, it could be featured on Marduk's Those of the Unlight, so that's how close it is in terms of sound. And I mean that as a compliment, obviously. Yeah, so it's fast blasting and frantic, but also atmospheric and capturing the imagination with the melodies and atmosphere, very much like Marduk's Those of the Unlight. And the blistering melodic guitar solos are exactly like a melodic solo found on one of Enthrone's early albums, or perhaps on Enthrone's Carnage in Worlds Beyond album. So they're epic, and there are a lot of epic solos with mid-paced sections. So that's my favorite track, A Hymn to the Children of Heimdall / Darkness Returns. Then we go into track 6, which is entitled Wandering CIRITH GORGOR. The mid-paced melody reminds me a bit of the Marduk song A Sculptor of the Night, also from Those of the Unlight. And it features a very haunting and atmospheric, slow, heavy section. And there's another brilliant guitar solo on this. And the fast and frantic melody is haunting, evil, and suspenseful, very much like, in the fast part in Satyricon Mother North. Yeah. And then we go to track 7, which is entitled Ifil Doeth a Warrior's Tale. Yep. Sorry, I'm just... Sorry, yeah, so we go into track 7, which is entitled, the one I just said. Ifil Doeth a Warrior's Tale. So this features some excellent melodic guitar harmonies, which remind me a bit of, again, a Marduk track, Stone Stands Its Silent Vigil from Those of the Unlight. And there are also some slow, heavy riffs and melodies with a kind of medieval Abbey Gore-esque atmosphere. Then we go into track 8, which is entitled Shadows over Isengard. This features epic and powerful black metal riffing, and when they really speed up, they sound frantic, mean, and evil. So, you know, truly evil sound to these riffs. And a lot of the song has a kind of thunderous gallop to it. This song is the only song on the album to feature and incorporate clean vocals, which sound very Viking and Nordic in the vein of, you know, bands like Enslaved, Ulva, and Moon Sorrow, those kind of choral Nordic vocals. So that's Shadows over Isengard. And yeah, that's the thing to mention. A lot of the time this band, they're not just doing blast beats and really fast sections. There's often like a galloping pace to the riff, so it makes it very catchy, which is cool. And then the final track on the album is entitled Thorns of Oblivion. That's an epic piano track, kind of like the calm after the storm, so to speak. It's melancholic and sorrowful, but it also speeds up at moments, but ends on a somber, depressing note, which is good for black metal, obviously. So just show you the album cover here. So you can probably tell that most of the songs are my favorites, but there are no bad songs on this. So there's the album cover, like very inspired by Tolkien-esque mythology, it seems. Band logo and song titles on the back. And just show you the booklet. So all of the lyrics in here, which I need to spend more time with. By the way, the vocals are very typical sort of raspy black metal vocals. Again, you know, sort of like early Marduk, but you know, like a lot of black metal vocals sound like that, but they're done really well, like shrieked with passion and energy. Yep, no pictures of the band in this one, but there are on another album. And I'll just show you the disc here, so, oh. Yep, same as the album cover with the logo, but absolutely excellent stuff. So, yeah, it's probably understandable. You can see why I like this album so much. So just in summary, in a nutshell, I would say I would strongly recommend this for fans of early Marduk, particularly those of the Unlight and Opus Nocturna, as well as early Enthroned, and also aspects of Dark Funeral in terms of the blasting and relentlessness, and the Legion, which is another Swedish band. And it even reminds me in some respects of the German band Disaster, in the sense there's that kind of like epic 80s heavy metal atmosphere incorporated with the blackness. So absolutely awesome album. So this is their debut, CIRITH GORGOR with Onwards to the Spectral Defile. Okay, so up next I'm talking about an album by the same band. This is the band's second release, which came out in 1997. So this is CIRITH GORGOR with Unveiling the Essence. Wow, like I just heard that first album and I thought that's brilliant. I could like this one even more actually. So basically they're maintaining the same style, so I don't have to give a detailed breakdown here. But basically as soon as this album kicks off with track 1 entitled Conquering the Shadow World, you can immediately tell that the album's musical sound is strongly influenced by Enthrone's early albums, particularly towards the Skull Throne of Satan. So maybe even a stronger Enthroned influence on this particular album. And yeah, once again, the riffs are fast and frantic, but always memorable and melodic at the same time. And also, once again, the songs all feature an interesting variety of tempos, often including fast and chaotic tempos, as well as mid-paced and catchy, and maybe also marching and galloping. So they still have that gallop and groove in some sections, like dun, 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 you know, that, which is awesome. You know, a variety of tempos always keeps the songs interesting, in my opinion. So one thing that's different about this album is the production is different. The first album was much more in the vein of Marduk's Opus Nocturne in terms of the production, but on this one, it somehow catches the melody of the guitars even more, making the songs even more memorable. So again, the production, I think, is very much like Enthrone's Towards the Skull Throne of Satan. So just going into some of my favorite tracks, like again, there are no bad tracks on this album. So yeah, Conquering the Shadow World, which is the opening track, that is chock full of chaotic, frantic riffs, like a riff medley or a riff salad, you could say, and the drumming is frantic and absolutely nuts. That's one thing to mention. This band doesn't blast all the time, but when they do, the drumming is absolutely insane, out of control. Oh, sorry, a tour bus just pulled outside my house, so they're probably going to watch me filming this. That's their sightseeing for the day. Interesting stuff. Hello. All right, so yes, then we go into track 2, which is entitled Unveiling the Essence, the title track. That starts with a catchy, upbeat, mid-paced Enthroned riff and melody, which, yeah, so it sounds very much like Enthroned, and also features a lot of galloping heavy metal style riffs, in addition to the fast and blasting sections. So there are so many different tempos in this song, and some of the black metal riffs on it have a kind of those of the Unlight vibe. So again, this band on this album, they're continuing to be inspired by early Marduk, early Enthroned. and I have no complaints about that because they're two of my favorite black metal bands. Then we go into track 3 entitled Bellum Germanicum. That features some more epic galloping riffs as well as some memorable chugging riffs. And again, these kind of riffs also sound a bit reminiscent of some melodic Swedish death metal like Ablaze My Sorrow, but as always, there are some fast and blasting riffs and some melodic guitar harmonies too, so great stuff. Then we go into track 4, which is entitled Northern Spell of Warcraft. That is basically a frantic blast fest, but featuring some memorable black metal riffs. So it's absolutely relentless. This band can blast like the best of them, like Marduk and Dark Funeral, no worries. Then we go into track 5, entitled Into a Nightly Silence. This could be my favorite track on the album actually, although Unveiling the Essence is also a good one. But Into a Nightly Silence, it starts off mid-pace and featuring an eerie and haunting atmosphere, especially with the melodies and harmonies. Then it picks up the blasting. It also features some very melodic sections and solos, which are very reminiscent of Enthroned. So you're getting the picture here. There is also a section which features a riff very reminiscent of Marduk's Burn My Coffin, but instead it's backed by blast beats. So you know that breakdown in Marduk's Burn My Coffin where it's like dun dun dun, but on this it's like dun, so like just fast with the blast beats there. It also features some epic galloping riffs at the end with a foreboding atmosphere, similar to that again of Satyricon Mother North, you know, when that riff speeds up and it sounds urgent and frantic and just really haunting and scary. So that's cool as well. And at the end of that song, so Into a Nightly Silence, there's a big epic heavy metal breakdown with some growled and scream vocals. So absolutely awesome, that track, Into a Nightly Silence. Then we go on to track 6. This is probably another one of my favorites, entitled A Twilight Serenade. This is fast and blasting, but also with some very galloping mid-pace sections. And the fast riffs feature some very atmospheric melodies, like those featured on those of the Unlight, and maybe also reminiscent of the Swedish band Sacramentum as well, like that album Far Away from the Sun. And then the song ends with some bouncy riffs with awesome drum fills, followed by a melodic guitar solo. And what I like about this, in that song, when they're shifting from the groovy to the fast section, the singer says, "Let's go!" And I love when black metal bands do that, like say, "Let's go" or "Come on" or something like that. Because it's kind of uncharacteristic of what you would expect them to say, but it sounds fucking awesome, especially when it's launching into a really fast section. So that's cool as well. And what else? In track 7, which is The Storm Riders, The Art of Megalomania. That's fast and blasting Marduk style, but also features a medley of groovy guitar harmonies and melodies. And then the final track, entitled Visions of a Distant Past. Interesting. Sounds a bit similar to Marduk's Echoes from the Past. But yeah, Visions of a Distant Past, that's mellow. It consists of a mellow but intricate acoustic guitar passage, and almost sounds like classical guitars. So once again, they have a kind of calm after the storm song to conclude the album. But absolutely awesome stuff. So there's the front cover. Again, oh, by the way, I should mention, you can probably tell, but these artworks were done by Chris Verwimp, you know, who was responsible for the Enthroned artwork and many awesome artworks. So no surprise, the band's musically inspired by Marduk and Enthroned, and they even got the same artist who did the Enthroned albums. I don't know if that's coincidence. Also, maybe this band sounds a bit like Enthroned because they're Dutch. I know Enthroned are Belgium, but maybe it's like that region of the world, they have a similar black metal sound. But at any rate, it's awesome stuff. So Tolkien-esque front cover. Now to show you the booklet. So you've got the band logo and lyrics. And now they feature the members. Look at this, the singer, what's his name, Nimroth, that even looks like Legion of Marduk. So like you see the similarities are not just in the music, but I mean, that's cool because I think Legion was an absolutely awesome frontman of Marduk, great vocalist, great showman. And it sounds like this singer is in the same vein, looks a bit like him. Yep, so you've got cool corpse painted pictures of the band, all of the lyrics, which once again I need to pay more attention to. And I think this band is a 5-piece. Yeah, so yeah, interesting, this band features no keyboards. You don't need keyboards, of course, but just, you know, it's a 5-piece with 2 guitarists and a vocalist, a bassist and a drummer. But yeah, so once again, you probably don't need to hear me say this again, but if you love Marduk and Enthroned, and also aspects of Dark Funeral as well. Definitely check this out. So this is CIRITH GORGOR with Unveiling the Essence. So thanks once again, Mark, for introducing me to this absolutely awesome band. And I hope one day we can meet either in the Netherlands or over here for a few beers. That would be cool. So thanks very much, Mark, for introducing me to CIRITH GORGOR. There are a few other albums which they've done, but I haven't got up to them yet. But this is a good start with the first two albums from the 90s. So that classic second wave black metal sound. All right, now, in this video today, I've been talking a lot about Marduk. So speaking of Marduk, I also picked up this. This is Marduk with Serpent Sermon. So yes, Marduk need no introduction, Swedish black metal band, and as you probably heard me say countless times, they're my favorite black metal band of all time. This album now concludes my full-length collection. So with Marduk being my favorite black metal band, I owned all of their albums except for this one until recently. And I know some people said it should be easy to get, right? But not where I live, because when I'm in Asia, to order a CD from overseas, especially from the US or Europe, the postage is fucking ridiculous. It's so expensive. Like recently, I tried to order 3 Gorgasm albums from the band, and it was like $30, and I went, oh cool, oh postage 75, fuck that. But yeah, so that's why I couldn't get this Marduk album for ages, but then my local contact, Preacher, he mentioned that he was selling this album on vinyl only. Like, I probably would have preferred the CD, but it doesn't matter, vinyl is awesome. So yeah, this was the only album missing in my Marduk collection until now. So now I own all full lengths, so I'll be able to rank them eventually. But yeah, this is from the year 2012, so from the Mortis era. When I say that, I'm talking about the period where Mortis is the vocalist, so he's now the longest standing vocalist in Marduk, beginning in 2003 or 2004 with Plague Angel up till now. So he's been the vocalist of this band for over 20 years now, which is incredible. Time flies. So what I'll say about, you know, you can basically say with Marduk there are 3 different eras of the band. So there's the early black metal era with Joachim Afgrav on vocals, also Andreas Axelsson on Dark Endless, but you know, the early period is mainly characterized by Joachim as the vocalist, and then you have the mid period of the band where the band was fronted by Legion as the vocalist, and that featured what many consider to be the classic lineup of Marduk. And then after that, when Mortis joined the band, that's like the latest era. It's awesome stuff. What I like about this band is, you know, with Marduk, you always know what to expect, like just blasting, aggressive, intense black metal, and they've maintained that throughout their years. But what I like is, after Mortis joined the band, his vocal style was a bit different to Legion's, and they also developed a fresh sound. So they didn't completely abandon their sound. You can still tell it's Marduk, but during the Mortis era, you know, it has its own identity as well, which I think is why this band is so interesting with their different eras, and yet maintaining that common thread of the classic Marduk sound. But yeah, so like I said, you know what to expect with Marduk. It's fast, intense, blasting black metal, but there are also some slower songs and catchier sections. But yeah, this is an absolutely brilliant album. Belligerent and aggressive, relentless, but they sometimes slow down the pace as well. I would go as far as saying that, for me, this is one of the best Mortis era albums. So it's funny that I got this one last, but it's, you know, for me, this one and the most recent one, Memento Mori, are some of the best Mortis era albums, as well as Plague Angel, but we'll go into that later. But yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. In a way, Marduk is like the AC/DC of black metal, in the sense, not how they sound, but in terms that you know what to expect, and they always deliver, and you always love it. So basically, yeah, they don't disappoint on this album. Some of my favorite tracks on this, again, there are no bad songs. Serpent Sermon, the opening track, is really good. I also really like track 2, which is entitled Messianic Pestilence. That's got that classic Marduk riffing and blasting with those piercing melodies, which are really memorable. So I absolutely love that track. Another track that I really like on this is track 5, Temple of Decay, which is slow and heavy with dim atmospheric backing keyboards and choral vocals, or at least what it sounds. That's at least what it sounds like. I also really like track 6, entitled Damnation's Gold. That's slow and heavy with really good bass lines and also blast beat sections. So I will say this, the bass player on this album, and for many latter day Marduk albums, is Devo Anderson, who is also the guitarist on Those of the Unlight. But yeah, Devo's bass playing on this album is absolutely awesome, and you can really hear the bass tone on this album, and with the drums it sounds absolutely thunderous and monstrous, so that's awesome. Good bass lines in Damnation's Gold. And then we have track 7, another one of my favorites, which is Hail Mary, Piss-Soaked Glorification. I think, yeah. So, what can I say about that? Yeah, that's got a good fast riff with blasting, an excellent manic guitar solo, and a catchy breakdown at the end. I also really like track 8 entitled Mammon, which is an acronym. That's heavy with a variety of tempos. So that's cool. Like, you know, often people expect black metal to be fast and frantic. It's not necessarily always heavy, but the production on this album is heavy as balls. So it's absolutely brilliant. I also really like track 9, Gospel of the Worm, which is, you know, another fast and blasting track like classic Marduk, basically. And then I also really like the closing track entitled World of Blades. That's slow, heavy, and atmospheric, and not boring at all. When I say that, no offense, but I think during the 2010s, in some of Marduk's albums, dare I say it, some of the slower songs were a little bit boring, but none of the slow songs on this album are. So that's absolutely brilliant. The album also features a bonus track entitled Koram Satanai, but I don't have it on this version. But yeah, cool stuff. So I mentioned pretty much all of the tracks, but even the ones I didn't, like Souls for Belial and Into Second Death, are still really good. So yeah, fantastic album. If you just like that classic Marduk sound, or you know what to expect, you're gonna love this. Cool, iconic artwork on this one. And I'm actually glad, and there's the classic logo, of course, with the song titles. Yeah, I'm glad I picked this up on vinyl, actually, because I think it's one of the best Mortis era albums, so I just got lucky there, you know, with that random purchase. But I'll show you the vinyl because it is very cool. Comes on this grey, black and red splatter vinyl with nice labels. Very nice. You know, sometimes I don't like splatter vinyl when it's too busy, but I think this one's really cool and it suits the album, consistent with the cover art colors too. And what I also really like about this one, it comes with this awesome gatefold picture. Yeah, so featuring the band there. So it's, who is it? Devo, Mortis, Morgan, and who is the drummer on this one? Is it Fredrik Widigs? I'm not sure, but anyway, the drumming is awesome. So there we go, picture of the band. And the album also comes with this awesome booklet. I won't show it all because I'm worried about, you know, greasy fingers messing up this booklet. But, you know, you have, oh God, what timing for that to happen. Yeah, so you have, you know, lyrics and credits and so on. I have to take more time with this. I hope you don't mind, I'm not showing the whole thing, but you know, when you have like, I ate a sausage roll before, so like my fingers are a bit greasy. I just don't want to mess up the booklet, but yeah. Yeah, but absolutely cool stuff. Marduk with Serpent Sermon, a brilliant Mortis era album, and I think one of the best, like as I said, the best Mortis era albums for me are Plague Angel, this one, and Memento Mori. But cool stuff. Marduk with Serpent Sermon. Glad to finish the Marduk collection. All right, so that's it, guys. God, it's been nearly half an hour. I've been going into a lot of detail. Somehow I knew I would, because with the bands that I'm talking about, I feel strongly about them in terms of really liking them a lot. So I hope you don't mind that, but I can't emphasize enough. If you really like Marduk and Enthroned, definitely check out CIRITH GORGOR, the Dutch black metal band, because they're absolutely amazing. And yes, Marduk, you know, I will recommend all of those albums. And soon in my collection, I will be doing a Marduk ranking, so more on that later. All right, guys, so that's it for today's video. You've probably had enough by now. Thanks for continuing to watch until the end. If you've made it this far, thanks as always for your support of the channel. I'm actually going to be away for a couple of weeks, starting today, so that's why I decided to film and make this today. But I'm sure you won't mind a break from the channel. So once again, thanks for new subscribers. My subscriber numbers keep going up and down, like I gain 2, then lose 2, then gain 2, then lose 2, and so on and so on. But hopefully some of you can stick it out. Anyway, enough rambling from me. I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe, and I'll catch you soon. See you.